You know, it feels like for generations before us, dating was a lot more simple. You'd meet someone through friends, school, your community. It was easy to find out if you liked each other or not. But for Gen Z, dating feels completely different from what it was described as growing up. Conversations start as young as middle school on platforms like Snapchat. Relationships are then measured in streaks, and sometimes it feels like everyone is talking to everyone, but nobody's actually dating. So what happened to dating? Why is it so hard for Gen Z to get into a stable, healthy relationship, and what does Snapchat have to do with this? As someone who grew up with the platform and stopped using it about 3 years ago, and I'm in about my mid-20s now, so I've got some experience with it, let's get into it. Firstly, I feel like people would always message each other, not because they want to talk, but because you don't want to lose the streak. In general, it's similar for many different social medias, but to keep it focused, I want to dive into the wonderful world of Snapchat and what it did to my generation. First off, I noticed around grade 7, it became more popular for kids to keep Snapchat streaks. It was being referenced in the media constantly, and the concept was simple. Every day you'd send a Snapchat to someone, and it counts towards a streak. You can build this number up with people, and I'm sure you have seen how crazy it can get. In high school, I was never really into it. You know, I couldn't maintain them for more than like 30 days, but I remember people using them and living by them. Like, it was funny, during the same time where I didn't have internet at my house, I had friends who couldn't go more than 24 hours without using the internet or data, or else they'd lose their streaks and inherently lose their mind. So this just led to habits like sending black screens with an S to keep the streak alive, or panicking if data or the internet wasn't working. And on top of that, it just felt like instead of people having exclusive friend groups or people that they talk to, everybody just kind of talked to everybody for the sake of talking. And I mean, we've always liked communication in history, but this is nothing like writing a letter or having a personal phone call. It feels much more similar to being a small piece of attention or dopamine for the receiving end. And casual conversation is taken so seriously. I used to have one girlfriend who would want to call me 24/7 on video call. And like, for guys who aren't in a relationship, sure, the first week is fun, but once you start to try to do stuff, I was trying to edit videos, work, just spend time on myself or watch my son, even watching a movie, you know, she'd be upset that I wasn't directing my attention towards her. And while not every person gets like this, Snapchat has bred jealousy into our generation like no other, and for very good causes. Start off with my side, I feel like every dude has to deal with the guy best friend dilemma. I swear, the title guy best friend has literally become immortal now that social media is the standard. The majority of the times I was a guy best friend, I'd get to be first in line to bat once the boyfriend messed up, so I'd never be very fond of guy best friends. Now, it sucked and it sounds like a shitty thing to do, but you know, it's just a cycle. I've been the guy best friend and I've been guy best friended a lot of times. You also got couples sharing their social media accounts starting at age 14, breaking up within 3 months, and then going on with life like this is normal or acceptable. And as we grow older, it doesn't get much better. The same girls I knew in high school on Snapchat with scores of 300,000 are still on it to this day, and now they're way past 1 million. And you just conceptualize that. How do you send 1 million Snapchats? Like, what else can you do with your time? Imagine how many problems that person wouldn't have if they didn't live their life through Snapchat. And even if you're not talking to anyone, just the mental game of posting to your stories so that one special person sees it is engraved naturally in everyone's brain, as it leads to manifesting what you want. Hell, and myself, I met my child's mother by posting on Instagram, "Do I look like a snack today?" on my story. I had the answers yes and super yes as the options, and she chose super yes, so I went on to slide into her DMs. It is literally how I met my child's mother. I didn't send her a letter, I didn't drop off flowers at her work, I didn't, talk to her dad. I basically said, "What you banging on, shawty?" and played the modern dating game. On top of that, just real interaction isn't enough for most people. They want 24/7 access and lifelines so that they can rely on each other and get support, but the amount of damage this does needs to be studied. A good example is sailors used to pack up and go to work for years at a time, heading on a ship to come back to their homeland and see their wives after years of not seeing them. But nowadays, you can't even go a week without Snapchatting your girl, or else she'll have you on a missing person list. It does feel like nowadays dating has just become a social game, and no matter what, you always fucking lose. Alright, that's a bit intense, but in reality, it's rough out there. Nowadays, your first impression isn't even in your person anymore. It's on your profile. People are used to being impressed, and now it's not just by the girl next door. There's lots of girls next door competing for all of our attention. And the same goes for women. People reporting no sex in the last year increased by over double from 2008 to 2018. That's only 10 years, but it's doubled. How is it that we have easier communication tools, but it's harder to communicate? Well, in general, it's simple. First, your social media can impact relationships a lot. I mean, you can no longer just post a photo that you took with your uncle and then expect that to pull anything. I see a lot of guys, they just have a photo of them and like their dog from like 8 years ago, and that's like their only profile picture, but then they have no friends, no relationships, and they're not meeting people. When people look at your social media account, it can impact what they think about you a lot. For one, having a lot of followers or attention can be very impressive. In general, you can also just look good in your photos or have an aesthetic that makes people like you, but it feels much more similar to marketing yourself, and it's a skill that we naturally had to develop if we wanted to find partners. In general, marketing yourself in a relationship market is a skill that we naturally had to develop if we wanted to find partners. I mean, people are spending more and more time now building up a catalog of content on TikTok just to use it as a dating platform hybrid to bridge the gap between not being able to communicate with anyone. In a similar way, the interaction is forced. A lot of times people are sending videos to each other, commenting on posts, and in general, trying to gain followers to impress others. It all feels performative, whether they're posting a photo with their partner or a photo with their kid. It always feels like there's a reason why they're posting it and somebody that they're trying to send a message to. And if you can't keep up the interactivity or the social circle on social media, then you're gonna suffer. You don't know how to market yourself, you'll be forgotten in society. People move on to those who are visually appealing and easily accessible. It's just brutal now, you know? You can't really just be a normal dude working a 9 to 5 not on social media and expect for it to be easy to meet people. Look, it's also a flexing status now to just post your partner on your story or on your social media. Like, lots of people will go on a first date and post photos right away with the person or of the date and what they're eating just to trigger an ex. Like, everything, it just feels so fake. Then when you break up with somebody, the damage control kicks in. You need to delete every photo, start sharing stuff to get back at the other person, and prepare for your next relationship. The cycle never ends until you can find somebody you can escape from it, which is pretty rare because when many of us grew up with Snapchat, you know, it's like asking me to stop playing video games. I've played video games my entire life and will continue to do so as it makes me happy. I'm not gonna stop, so why would my partner want to stop using Snapchat in any relationship? It just seems to be the norm, you know. A lot of people will have the whole discussion of social media and what platforms they're gonna use and not use, but in general, 9 out of 10 relationships I get into, my buddy's complaining about his girl talking to some dude on a platform like Snapchat with messages that delete. It is just a social game, but playing it does nothing but hurt you in the end. Like, for me personally, I was able to focus on myself and stop worrying about my story or messaging people, and I did so much better. I was actually able to focus and play video games. I could read or go to the gym and do things that normally I was too distracted to do. And in a market of trying to absorb everyone's time, it can be very powerful to minimize the amount of social media you use and consume. If you stop posting, others will always post. It doesn't make a difference, and you're feeding into a virtual market dictated by watch time and attention. Meanwhile, you could be playing a video game or connecting over something in real life and developing a new skill. But similar to the real options we have in life, that is another problem. I feel like there's just too many choices in the dating market because of social media. And while I've got a stable, healthy relationship, as I get older, I notice a lot of my friends are finding it harder to find proper commitment, and in just general, it's more risky. A lot of people treat the dating market like browsing for a new song to play on repeat. They just want to get that dopamine, and the moment they're sick of it, they're trying to find a new favorite catchy song. And when you have an instant access to a catalog of personalized photos to pick from, along with a market of attention that constantly shifts and changes, the person you have as your number one right now at this exact moment might not even be talking to you next year. And that's not a surprise. I mean, when you have infinite options, it leads you to be less resilient towards bullshit, which is good in its own way. You don't want a partner that's going to waste your time or give you some ghetto trailer park boy scenario. But at the same time, I think it makes it much easier for young parents or families to crash out, as generations previous to us didn't have to deal with this level of social media. I remember growing up, most of our parents were worried about Ashley Madison. Meanwhile, we have it way worse, okay? We gotta be worried about anyone named Ashley or Madison, as both of them are accessible from our fingertips and are DTF. It's just been a natural thing in history. Even if you're in a committed relationship, the evil nature of lust and desire is more tempting to fall for than ever for both sides, with the addition of social media and how easy it is to bridge that gap. And then take a direct look at the dating scene, not only on sites like Tinder or Bumble, but even Facebook. Like, it has its own dating feature on the platform. Hell, even Roblox, they're talking about adding a dating feature in the platform. Animal Farm, 1984, George Orwell. It's happening now. Really though, like, how are we supposed to digest this? We should be throwing up, not throwing up peace signs on every photo we post to our story. Finding someone new is as simple as swiping on an app or watching videos made in your community or following and interacting with someone on social media. When everyone feels replaceable, people invest less emotionally. And that leads me into where a lot of relationships end up. Some of my own friends that have had to drop that are just in toxic relationships, they end up in these situationships. Because honestly, it just isn't as easy as breaking up nowadays. I've been through it too. A lot of Gen Z relationships don't start or end anymore. To begin, even if you aren't dating, a lot of the time there's a loop people get stuck in of just talking to someone. And as I grew older, I noticed a lot of these people who I thought were just mutual friends or wanted to like keep contact from high school, once their relationship would fall apart, they'd immediately begin to show more interest and pick up the interactivity with me. It's so transparent, and in reality, it almost feels like being a backup option because you're one of the many public backup options on that social media platform. And then when you get into relationships, it sucks when it happens to you. A good example, I think, is your partner complaining about problems you have in your relationship with anybody, especially people of opposite sex. I mean, naturally, that's just a distress signal. Alright, there's been no time in history where any man has told his side piece about how nice his baby mom has been. You know, it's always a bit of the opposite. It also just feels like, why get into a relationship when nothing is private anymore? Everybody else has access to what I have, and no, it's not as crazy as the OnlyFans thing. I know some of us have to deal with that, thankfully not me. But just simple things like posting your photos to Facebook and Instagram, experiencing life together, that's something that's meant to be cherished and, a bond because we both did it together. But it's hard to do that now because you're stuck trying to block out the noise of your partner's phone vibrating and popping off with Snapchat notifications when you're doing anything interesting in public. We've got constant distractions, and if you give up on social media, it hurts you a lot of the time. Friends become distant, relationships harder to obtain, and in general, life starts to forget about you. Showing up in person is just no longer enough when you can show up on the homepage and have more of an impact. And this causes a lot of people in our generation to base their lives around posting, personal marketing strategy, trying to farm likes. I mean, no matter where it goes, it's not good for our mental state. And for those in relationships, cheating behind closed doors is easy and rarely discovered now. Along with the temptation of leaving for something better, the only things stopping people are often their own situation. There's numerous reasons why you're gonna stay with a partner even if they suck. That can be housing, transportation, bills, a job. I think the worst relationship I ever seen was one woman I worked with who had multiple kids that were around my age, took great pride in the fact that her husband had given into an open relationship. She would show up to the workplace with different guys almost bi-weekly just to show off, while this guy had to work at the same store, minimum wage. And all he could do is kind of like put his head down while like all the guys were like laughing or like, wow, that sucks, your girl's a whore. Like, it's brutal, but like, I was always nice to him, I always try to be nice to him because you never know. I felt like if there's anyone I was gonna go out with a bang, it was gonna be him, rightfully so. Brother, you'll find me on the moon before you catch me in that scenario. Society has been naturally subjected to devaluing themselves as social media has made them less valuable. If you looked at his wife's page on social media, Photos constantly, numerous per week, different outfits, lots of investment both of time and money into her social media. Meanwhile, on his end, he's working and not on it. So, and honestly, it doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. There's numerous reasons why people get stuck, but noticing these trends before they happen to us is very important. We're supposed to be accepting of everyone and accepting of their relationships, but in all reality, there's a lot of these relationships that I don't respect and I don't want anywhere near me or my family. And I think that's pretty reasonable to say because I know a lot of other people would say the same about me. But that just leads us into the social pressure and validation that social media gives us. Instead of building one relationship, many people chase validation from a lot of different people, not just in the dating scene, but also just in friendships. And even if you stick to a traditional grassroots relationship, it's different nowadays. Myself and all of my friends had any woman we broke up with in 2021 start OnlyFans accounts, and most of them never even posted to them. It was just rage bait at the time because that was the big thing that was going on, and that was what we got for breaking up with them. Every story, video, post, and even meme that's shared is all to get reactions and send a message towards someone. And it happens on so many different levels, both positive and negative, from our friends, families, co-workers, crushes. It's just a mental game we're all stuck playing. And as I said, I found my child's mother through Instagram replies. While some might find that beautiful, bless your heart if you do. In reality, it was ghetto as hell. The traditional values and methods our grandfathers used were not posting an ounce of weed on their story and saying, "Who trying to link?" as the caption. That's not how great grandpa met great grandma. On Snapchat, it was just normal to send snaps to people you wanted to get closer with, whether they responded or not. And getting those snaps were exciting, even if it was a black screen with an S. And hell, I know there's so many people that are still caught in this cycle and doing this day to day. Let me know if you guys still are. Please, I hope you escape. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. I feel like the dopamine that we really get from social media, it can be infinite. And if you master it, then it's good. But if you don't, you just end up chasing it. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing for me to be able to comment on my friends' posts, be able to connect with anybody, have this easy connection gap. But at the same time, it also feels like it would just be more straightforward and simple if I had to do it the traditional way in person all the time. But even if we do post, a lot of the time we'll get depressed or upset if nobody interacts with us. Even on like a grander scale, if someone is used to getting 100 likes on a photo, but they only get 10 likes, it fucks them up. It genuinely bothers them. And when we measure interest by engagement through social media, how do we do the same in the real world? I mean, we don't. I feel like it just corrupts our brain and how we think our relationships work. Now, for my own life growing up, it felt toxic to be a part of a Snapchat ecosystem. I don't want to get into darker, gross stuff, but we all know what kids do with Snapchat in high school, and I had a lot of partners who casually had, grown men well into their 30s added onto their accounts. I think it was awful because, who knows where all this dark, gross content ended up? I'm sure we'll find out one day, or many already have in some way. But as I watched my friends trade explicit photos of themselves and others, as if they were Pokemon cards, it felt like we had it all in our faces and just pushed to us at an early age. Even if you didn't do it yourself, you knew that half your classroom were sending explicit photos to each other. It was crazy. And once they added private stories, it was over, bro. They added private stories when I was in the middle of working out and getting on track, and let's just say I got some access to some crazy content from people that made it impossible for me to look at them the same way ever again. For good or for bad, privacy is sold for publicity, and in general, we'd rather be popular than lonely. Naturally, everyone lands in different spectrums, but I remember spending months in the random talking stages with people. Not even relationships, just like even friends. We would talk, but we would talk about nothing, and it was almost forced each time, like never genuine as we grew older. And to this day, I don't talk to like many of the people that I had on my Snapchat growing up. And it's unfortunate because honestly, I feel like I get way more dopamine and positive feelings from being recognized in person or doing something to help someone out. I don't really get that online as much. The dopamine from the online aspect comes from analytics. It comes from the numbers going brr, that's about it. Helping someone while you're at work, having a good good conversation with somebody, or just bonding over an event unfolding in real time are all things that we take for granted. And a lot of us, because we're missing these things, we try to seek it through social media, but we know it's never going to be the same. I think real world interaction is key to a healthy, long-lasting relationship. And if you spend too much time Snapchatting or on social media, it's gonna take away from your life. And in my own life, I try to cut out social media as much as I can, just so I have more time for my girlfriend, my son, my work endeavors, my dog. Like, those 4 things keep me more than enough busy, and I still got all these dreams and aspirations. I want to get better at pronouncing words. I got all these dreams and things that I want to accomplish in life. And for me, I don't think I would be able to even get close. Like, could you not imagine my pronunciation if I didn't delete Snapchat years ago? I mean, thankfully it's been great. I don't have to see nonsense on my feed, and I mean, never mind, like a feed in general. All it does is really breed a culture that I don't want to be a part of, but I still find myself trapped in. In all, it just seems like people are more connected than ever, but relationships feel weaker. One bad experience can happen over your cell phone, and it's even more anxiety driven than it used to be in the real world. A lot of people in my generation can't even properly commit to a relationship. For example, lots will expect their partner to stop talking to people of the opposite gender, but they won't do the same for their partner. Social media has created a huge world of double standards, this ranking system, an overall leaderboard for how desirable you are. Even settling down is terrifying. Like, you don't want to get married right now. If you're young and your partner is watching TikTok and on social media, you have no idea what it'll do to them as time progresses. They could have dementia and by the time they're like 30, There are no studies for this stuff. We are the studies. And on top of that, I just feel like it's been proven that social media is leading to more loneliness. It's just weird that we're the loneliest generation and we have the internet to use. Like, we have this technology, but it's made us even more lonely. Even simple things like having a best friend that you see once a month, that's a luxury to have now too. And to get these things, we try the real world and it doesn't work. And if the internet doesn't work, then what do you do? Accept you're not valued by others and attempt to improve yourself. A lot of people, like lemmings, will let life guide them right into a pit of water, but only a few, I feel like, become the player and change the outcome to get to the next level. So the problem isn't that Gen Z doesn't want relationships. I feel like the problem is that it's the systems that we socialize on were never designed to help people build relationships. There's a reason why people say stay connected, not get connected. And while I don't think any of these social media platforms inherently are meant to destroy our relationships, they sure have contributed to numerous problems that would make our parents' heads explode. I mean, could you imagine our fathers or our mothers growing up in a generation where their first breakup in high school, as they grew up, every relationship, the day after they broke up with somebody, they'd see that person posted up with somebody on their story. Like, I'm not sure what that mentally does to the mind, but there's a lot of, accepting and thinking going on there. I really imagine if my dad had to deal with that stuff, he'd be freaking out, crashing out for sure. All in all though, Tinder is made for you to find hookups, not partners. Facebook wants you to find friends, but those friends do not come from Facebook itself. You need to have those friends. And Snapchat wants you to keep streaks and post stories. It goes on different social medias until you finally decide, are any of these things worth my time? That's what I'd love to know. Have you quit any social medias? Are there any positive impacts that you've had from social media, or of course negative ones? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to read and respond to you guys. Also, feel free to check out my Discord server for a chill spot to hang out with me. If you're interested in content creation, check out my school. I have courses, weekly group calls, and one-on-one coaching available for anyone who wants to grow a YouTube channel. As always, remember, the Lemming theory is real, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.